Hello, Lana. I believe. In our previous lesson, we did introduce the formal communication network. We went ahead to discuss the vertical communication, both directions, downwards and upwards. So in our today's lesson, we will take on the second flow under the formal network, which is the horizontal lateral communication. And in the same lesson, we will also discuss the informal communication network. So, while we said that the vertical communication is communication that takes place between different levels of authority and responsibility. That is, the parties communicating in vertical communication have different status in terms of power, authority, and responsibility. Horizontal or lateral communication, on the other hand, is where the people communicating are at the same level of authority and responsibility, meaning they have the same status when it comes to decision making and their level of responsibility. So, horizontal network or flow is the flow of messages across functional areas. Flow of messages across functional areas at the same level. In an organization hierarchy. And the meaning of that is that horizontal communication is the kind of communication that takes place at same levels of authority. such as communication between peers, communication between managers, or communication between any other horizontally equivalent organizational members. Now, what is the purpose or objective of this communication flow? Purpose or objectives of lateral communication. It may not be used for the same purposes as the vertical communication. When we say that vertical communication, one is about giving orders and instructions, explaining policies, procedures, and rules. The same may not be said of the horizontal communication. In horizontal communication, no party is in a position to instruct or order others, because these are people at the same level in terms of status and authority. So some of the objectives of lateral communication will include, among others, coordinating organizational activities. Coordinating organizational activities. While the organization is one whole made up of constituent parts, it is important that the marketing people know what the production people are doing, know what the finance people are doing, what the HR people are doing. So this is the level of communication or direction of communication that enables all these sections, departments, and units to work together in a common direction. Two, the communication flow is also used for sharing information relating to organizational processes, sharing or exchanging information. Again, number three, it is also used for team decision making. When an organization has to make a decision on an issue, it is important that representatives of the different departments or sections come together and put their minds together in order to arrive at that decision which is suitable for all of the parties that are going to be affected. Similarly, it is also used in organizational problem solving. For organizational problem solving. When coming up with a solution to a problem, again, all organizational members, sections, and units need to work together. for emotional and social support of workers or amongst workers, amongst employees. Employees can share, can exchange personal problems, because this kind of information puts them in a very free environment to talk to each other, and that way they are able to support each other on certain personal issues. Now, what are some of the advantages of horizontal communication? Advantages of lateral or horizontal communication. Now, of course, compared to vertical communication, which is characterized by status differences, this kind of communication, there are no status differences, which gives rise to quite a number of advantages as far as communication flow is concerned. One is that it is very fast speed. The simple reason is because no need for processing of messages at different levels, for processing of communication at different levels. The people engaged in the communication belong to the same level. So the chain of communication does not exist. Remember that chain where information has to be processed at every level of management slows down the communication process. Again, this kind of communication is reliable for the simple reason that it is not subject to distortion. There wouldn't be a reason for someone to distort the kind of communication effected or taking place through the horizontal channels, because no one is likely going to victimize another person. Again, no status or authority differences. And the result of this that promotes free communication. No one is going to be suspicious of the other one, and people are likely going to easily exchange information without such fear. Again, it involves less formalities. It is characterized by less formalities or none, which makes it very effective. Very effective. And the last but not least, number 5, interpersonal relations. That is, employees can interact freely. And develop better relations with each other. Now, effectively, at that point, we have been able to discuss and exhaust the formal network of communication. Remember, we did define the formal network of communication as the officially designated channels of communication in an organization, so that these channels are deliberately developed by the management to define the acceptable way or the recognized and acceptable way of communicating or effecting communication in any organization. This then brings us to the informal network, which is the second channel through which communication can be effected in an organization. While the management does everything possible to try and define the formal networks so that they are as elaborate as possible, it is not again possible to have this kind of communication being as adequate as it should be. So that alongside the formal network, another network grapevine.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to get yourself a copy of our professionally prepared study text and revision partners. Visit our shop along Tom Boyer Street, Pioneer House, 3rd floor, opposite Fire Station.